Thank you very much. Professor Rufus Black.
I acknowledge with profound respect that we gather today on Aboriginal land, the lands of the Muwinina people. I pay my respects to the many elders here. And all that I have to say today is really an extended acknowledgement. I feel it deeply privileged to be able to offer these words as a white man at this gathering. And I'm not here today because this is the politically correct place to be. Not because I don't value the Western culture of which I'm a product. Not because I don't love Australia. I'm here because in the end, a nation can only be securely founded on a true telling of its history and celebrations that embody values that unite us rather than those that divide us. And if that is to happen, we need to keep momentum in the national conversation about this day. I know it's a deeply uncomfortable conversation. We have to talk about troubling truths in our national narrative. But one of the other truths that makes this a special country is that we cherish the freedom to respectfully have those most difficult of discussions. And the troubling truth with which we need to begin is that the formal proclamation of British sovereignty on 26 January 1788 was also a formal proclamation of invasion. It was the moment when the intent to dispossess without treaty or agreement was made legally and administratively unambiguous. And was indeed, and integral to that dispossession was the immoral and illegal use of force. We know that all too well here in Matruida, Tasmania, that the attempt to take country from Aboriginal people and impose on it a Western concept of property was resisted by force and by war. In turn, that resistance was met with military action. Here and in other places around the country, citizens and the constabulary backed their dispossession with firearms, force and even poison. The scale and nature of that violence descended into the moral darkness of massacres which stain our national soil and our soul with blood. In time, invasion became part of genocide. When you stand on land as we do today, where there are no living descendants of the people who cared for this country for tens of thousands of years, it is hard to find another word. There are those who contest the use of words of invasion and genocide, almost as though in doing so they might reduce the gravity of what occurred. But perhaps the reverse is true. The systematic multi-generational dispossession of an entire continent and its islands by force, policy, economics and disease, taking it from the world's oldest continuous culture, seems to be a wrong in a category all of its own. We need to remember in the 20th century the world had to invent the word genocide to describe what Churchill called crimes without a name. I do wonder when we look around the world at similar wrongdoings done to Indigenous peoples in many lands, whether we still confront a crime without a name. And if we are to be a nation truly founded, we have to give an accurate name and an honest accounting of what occurred. And we have to find a way forward. And I think a clue lies back on that day in the Western reckoning of time on 26 January 1788, and in that proclamation of sovereignty. We need to recognise that this claim was made out of an understanding of concepts of law, land and property which belong to a very particular civilisation. And I think contrary to what the High Court concluded in the Mabo case, it concluded that the understanding of this particular civilisation and the acts that followed, I think it was wrong. I don't think anything that followed took away anything from the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples or their lands. They have a completely different understanding of country and the relationship between people, country, and what we might crudely translate as law. To impose by force one understanding of land does not remove the existence of the other understanding or the relationship created by it. What we have is two whole systems sitting of knowledge and relationship to country and land sitting side by side. We have two realities, two worlds, two systems, and we cannot build a future built on just one of them. And this is especially so where the best we can do in that one system that dominates is to give original owners of the land what slipped through the history of invasion and dispossession. That serves to build our future on the wrongs of the past. It fails to honour a civilization, a system of knowledge of countless generations. And more than ever, the future of this continent depends on honouring that knowledge. These are the people who lived on this continent without empire or ecological collapse. And recent days have reminded us they knew how to make fire the servant of the care of this country, not an enemy that destroys it. How many lessons have we still to learn? Where there are two completely different civilizational systems, neither reducible to the other, both occupying the same space, in my view, the only way forward is treaty. Together we need to create a new understanding, a new imagining about how we have two systems in one place. We can anticipate how hard that will be. The ambitions, the hopes, the tears, the anger, the disappointments, the breakdowns, the make-ups, and then the moments of magic when we break the bonds of the past and we build the future, and we build from the future back. And I have confidence that we would finally fashion something worthy of the best of the histories and hopes of all of those involved. And when that treaty was signed and sealed with ceremonies, it would be our 4th of July, our declaration of interdependence, of the kind of nation we'd chosen to be. It would be a true national day. We would join our cousins in Aotearoa, New Zealand, across the waters. They used to celebrate the founding of a colony on 29 January, the date when William Hobson arrived in the Bay of Islands to proclaim his appointment. Today, their national day is Waitangi Day, 6th of February, the day when Maoris signed the Waitangi Treaty with the British. Such a treaty and a day would not just unite two worlds. It would provide us with a day where belonging in Australia was about what you believed, not when you arrived. It would honour values we have chosen, not celebrating our role as a location for someone else's penal coddling. It would celebrate a national moment, not just the story of a single state. As a nation, we would become not just a federation of states, but a federation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as well, sovereignty intact. I know that some will say this day lies far in the future, but for the sake of the health of the soul of the nation, we need to hasten that day, to change the date.